Hi, I'm Derek Bullen. I'm a Canadian entrepreneur. I graduated as an electrical engineer and started computer programming just when the nascent industry was starting to form. And I created a company called SI Systems. And nationally, we have 3,500 IT professionals working across multiple sectors in Canada. And it's
Love
been a
to.
very good
My name
industry.
is Sharon Forster. I am the founding partner of On Purpose Incorporated, which is an HR consulting firm, formerly Raintree Consulting. I have a master's in business and an undergraduate in business as well. My firm focuses on purpose-driven human resources to achieve the best out of its people. I have over 35 years of experience, both in-house as a vice president of HR in all sorts of industries, as well as consulting.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wilma Splenders, and I'm the president and founder of Transcend Management Advisors, a management consulting and coaching firm based in Calgary. We've been in existence for 23 years this August. The services that we offer are executive coaching, strategic consulting, and leadership development training. Our mission is to help individuals and their companies perform better, grow faster, and achieve more.
I'm Rhonda Beers, and I've worked in talent acquisition recruiting for 20 plus years now. And for the past 15 years, have been supporting a team of recruiters and sourcers across Canada and the US who have been working on a remote basis. And some of them 100% remote for more than 15 years now.
My name is Paula Maykrook, and I am currently working as the General Manager of IT projects for the Calgary Airport Authority here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My background is actually in project delivery. I've spent well over 20 years in that space, working with a variety of organizations across the country, working on business and IT solution delivery.
My name is Raman, and I am the founder and principal consultant at Talentera Inc. Our team of professionals has over 20 years of experience supporting clients in various industries. Our focus is on small to mid-sized organizations, and we support them in HR, the entire employee life cycle, as well as executive search and recruitment for technical roles.
We already had point of presence from wherever you could set up a laptop so that our salespeople could be at a client site or in a Starbucks coffee or a Tim Hortons, or could hotspot off their phone and they could get point of presence to all of the applications.
No. We
And
had some of the tools deployed to facilitate work from home, things like Microsoft 365, OneDrive, and Teams, but no real structure or policies to support the use of those tools.
Yes, we were kind of ahead of the curve with that. We've been, you know, definitely supporting 100% remote work for at least the past 4 years. We did initially start out with the majority of our employees working in offices across Canada, and then started to gradually go to part-time remote, part-time in the office. And then just over 4 years ago, we closed a couple of our offices in Western Canada and went 100% remote because we felt it was working really well.
We had not established a formal remote work capability. However, we did have some individuals who did some remote work as required based on childcare needs or sickness of themselves or a family member. But no, we had no formal policy in place. It was very much an ad hoc situation. The advantages to remote work for office workers is enormous. What we saw, interestingly enough, was a big spike in productivity for solo type work. So that's where people have projects that they have to do on their own. We use Microsoft Teams, we use Zoom, a number of different platforms to connect with customers and employees, and we found that the meetings themselves were more productive, were quicker, more focused, and better run meetings because there was
your employees can be anywhere, so you can draw from a global pool of talent. A lot of companies started offshoring their work to places where labor is cheaper. So there's pros and cons of remote working. in terms of small businesses, sometimes it's not that easy to have people work remotely just because of the nature of their business.
Cost savings for them and the employers. They're not spending money on commuting back and forth to work, on clothes, on lunches, coffees, things that you would normally do in an on-site environment. Employers are definitely saving costs. Their biggest cost savings would be on office space.
There was a real strength for us being able to have point of presence anywhere. And we do have a lot of single parents working for us, and we do have a lot of working parents working for us. And we also live in Canada. And so sometimes the weather wouldn't cooperate. People would have difficulty coming in to work. Sometimes people would have to be home taking care of their kids. Sometimes other emergencies happened. And I think it was really good for the type of people that we had working in SI Systems. And I think they mirrored who's in general society. And the flexibility early on to work from home as the need arose, I think that was an advantage to us keeping our people, and was also an advantage to hiring who we hired.
Advantages. It provides the team with flexibility in terms of how they want to work, when they want to work, and it's really about measuring the results and what the team is producing rather than watching the clock. And so
I think the biggest advantage is that there's a sense of always available. It's usually so much easier to reach people because they're either on their laptop or their mobile device with limited distractions for the most part. It's often far less likely that they have walked away from their desk and forgotten to bring their phone with them so they can be reachable.
lack of work-life balance. People tend to work a little bit longer and then get burnt out because we don't watch the clock as we would when we're in the office and we're commuting. The other thing is you're not collaborating so often with the team as like walking down the hall or seeing somebody in the lunchroom or getting coffee. And so that interaction is missing. And so you have to build that in different ways when you're working remotely. So it depends on how the individual is and if they're really suited to work in a remote environment.
I think the opportunity for those water cooler conversations, meeting a senior executive on the elevator and having a short chat, that's not going to happen. The people that work remotely all the time have a hard time establishing the visibility with senior leaders within the office.
Biggest challenge or disadvantage was people missing that in-person face-to-face interaction. They felt a little bit isolated. They felt a little bit disconnected, not really knowing what everybody else was doing. Pay attention and watch for people that might be feeling lonely or depressed. You do have to manage the team slightly differently, and it's important to keep close communication and tabs on that.
So productivity is a two-edged sword there. And I think for solo time, remote work is fabulous, but when it does require a lot of collaboration, it's more challenging. It's doable, but it's more challenging. The biggest disadvantages for remote work is the isolation that people have felt during COVID-19 and the human cost of that. So when employees have families at home, they are isolated, but they still have others to talk with. But when you have a large group of employees who maybe are single and have been isolated because of COVID-19, they have not had any human contact. And so there's been an increase in depression and anxiety and all sorts of other concerns. Remote work generally, without a pandemic, would not have that kind of problem necessarily, because they're not also being required to stay home and not even go to anywhere except for the grocery store. The other negative is it doesn't work for all jobs. It works well for a lot of office type jobs, but it doesn't work for customer facing jobs or production jobs. So
with people working from home, our home now has become our workplace and vice versa. That lack of separation has impacted some people. Certainly people that have young children have needed to do homeschooling. So how do you manage the priority of work when you have all these other conflicting demands that are right there in your space? That's creating a lot of stress for people. The other piece of it is that people are partnered and in relationships that potentially are not going that well. The possibility of further disagreement, potential abuse, that increases unfortunately, and we've seen the stats in Calgary that the calls to abuse hotlines have increased, that domestic violence instances have increased. And so those are all mental health issues and concerns. Most of the time, we don't spend 24/7 with our partner or our spouse or even with our families. And so this is a huge change in terms of having to cope with all of the dynamics in one place. So we've seen productivity go up, but at what cost?
Mental health issues are serious all the time. And we want always to have our employees in the best possible physical and mental emotional health. And so we put in programs like employee benefit programs. Most employers have those. And often they include employee and family assistance programs, which really does focus a lot on mental health, and it's a self-service kind of offering. And that was a huge thing for our employees, reminding them regularly of what they could access. Because I had a number of employees reach out to me about anxiety, about fear of even leaving their home, just even to go to the grocery store, are afraid to come to work because someone else might infect them. Anxiety and mental health concern around depression, being alone all by yourself all day long with no one to talk with, and no physical touch. It's interesting, the lack of physical touch, it really impacts people's sense of well-being.
Burnout and loneliness. When you're at home, if you haven't done it before for a sustained period of time, there is a blurring of the boundaries, especially with people that don't have a dedicated workspace at home or a ritual that signifies when my day starts and when my day ends. And so we found that burnout was a big deal because people would keep going after regular work hours. Even though you're working from home, you should still take holidays. Don't save all your holidays for when we come back. Start taking holidays now in and around the house. And fortunately, it's summer in Canada. You can garden, you can get outside, you can work with a dog. The second mental health thing that we saw was with our younger people, under 35 workers, and working for our company. They've done well, and they've got their first condo. They've moved out of their parents' home, and all of a sudden they found themselves quarantined alone, where the connection point for them was actually work, or it was going to a bar, or it was going to an event. And all of a sudden the social, or coffee shop, and the social gathering places for these people were taken away from them.
I think taking time for yourself is critical in these uncertain times that we're experiencing. I think it's important to recognize that loss of productivity is normal and is not indicative of an individual issue, but rather a larger problem that stems from being isolated for long periods of time. That can be really challenging for folks. And the constant onslaught of negativity from news outlets and social media can be a contributing factor to how people feel about work and about life in general during times like this. So it's really important for folks to tune out the things that trigger feelings of anxiety and or depression. Eating and sleeping well, getting exercise every day can help to combat some of that.
Remote work has actually increased the intimacy with our current customers that we already knew. It makes it hard to meet a new current customer. It's hard to meet somebody over the phone and over a Skype and have a compelling reason for them to meet another supplier, another vendor, during this time. But our current existing clients, it's been so wonderful because this Zoom meeting has brought the humanity back into our meetings.
Delivering my Management Moments leadership training program online and trying to replicate the same experience that people had in person. So, this is not a passive income type of leadership training program. It's highly interactive.
A lot of my clients have turned around, and instead of just having meetings, they have social hours on Fridays at the end of the work week, where they create an environment where you can be social and you can interact with each other.
I think it has been challenging because our customers are widespread around North America in this organization that I've been focusing in on the last couple of years. And they've all had to adjust to it as well. So everybody's adjusting at the same time to the social distancing, all of the rules around COVID-19, and then add The complexity on top of that of how do we work remotely? We can't send somebody to repair something, a machine. So can we set up a Zoom meeting, and you get that camera underneath that machine, and we'll tell you what to fix, and having, giving that assist to customers and whatnot. So we've used it to our advantage in that respect, but it's not the same as being hands-on.
Well, initially, it was kind of a gradual adaptation to remote work. So some of the employees took a little longer to embrace it. Initially, they were feeling a little isolated, a little, not as disciplined as maybe they needed to be successful working in a remote work environment. So it is an adjustment, definitely, for your team. So I think it's important that you have your guidelines, explain what the expectations are, set them up to be successful as well by creating healthy work habits.
It's really highlighted the need to stay connected and ensure that everyone gets a chance to be seen and heard. Some people are not comfortable expressing concerns over video or audio connections, so the need to be really flexible is proving to be quite important.
What's different for me as a leader for solely remote work is I have to provide certainty to my staff at a time when there is no certainty. So I've upped the cadence and the significance of company messages. Just became more about the normalcy of our routine, Mother's Day, and how we were still placing people and connecting talent with meaningful work in the community. And the other part of my message is that I have to be very clear, because again, people are craving certainty and there is no certainty. I have to really cast forward and say what's coming next. I don't want to be the president that sends out messages and says, this is what's happened, we've all moved from home. I want to be the president that says, this is what's coming next.